Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolute colossal transformative story of Indonesia's national energy powerhouse, PLN. If you've ever wondered how an entire archipelago actually stays illuminated, or how a massive legacy corporation pivots to face a green future, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to look at some staggering numbers, fascinating history, and a totally ambitious roadmap for the future.
Have you ever actually stopped to think about what happens when you flip a light switch? Behind every single bulb that lights up across thousands of Indonesian islands, there is an invisible giant working around the clock. Today, we're making that giant visible. We're breaking down the data, the restructuring, and the sweeping clean energy goals of PLN to understand exactly what makes this powerhouse tick.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to cover 5 quick chapters. Indonesia's giant energy scale, electrifying the archipelago, meeting the 2 main kitchens, their ambitious green transition plan, and finally, the future of electrical energy.
Let's dive right into Chapter 1, Indonesia's giant energy scale.
Just look at this single figure, 92.8 million customers. Seriously, take a second to wrap your head around that. That's nearly 100 million households, factories, hospitals, and businesses that rely on this one single company for their daily operations and quality of life. It connects directly to the everyday pulse of the entire Indonesian economy.
And as you'd expect, that massive customer base translates to some serious financial heavyweight status. In 2024, PLN booked a staggering 545 trillion rupiah in revenue. That's an 11.9% jump from the year before. So we aren't just talking about a state utility merely surviving. This is a company experiencing massive growth and driving substantial economic velocity.
And let's build on that with their total assets, a mind-blowing 1,772 trillion rupiah. To put that into perspective, this includes over 75,000 megawatts of installed capacity and more than 72,000 circuit kilometers of transmission lines. It's safe to say this completely cements PLN's position as a corporate titan, not just in Indonesia, but globally.
Thanks to this phenomenal financial performance, PLN has actually re-entered the prestigious Fortune Global 500 list, landing at number 469. But wait, it gets better. For 2 years running, Fortune Southeast Asia 500 has recognized them as the absolute largest, top-tier utility company in the region. They are officially outperforming utility companies from Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, and Thailand.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Electrifying the Archipelago.
So how exactly does this giant manage to power thousands of islands scattered right across the equator? Well, tracing their history really puts it into perspective. Their roots go all the way back to October 1945, right after independence. President Sukarno established the Electricity and Gas Bureau with a tiny total capacity of just 157.5 megawatts. Fast forward through their evolution into a limited liability company in 1994 to 2024, where that capacity has exploded to nearly 76,000 megawatts. Now that is the literal definition of exponential growth.
But you know, it's not just about raw brute power. It's really about reach. It is literally a logistical miracle. They've hit a 99.83% electrification ratio nationwide. And specifically, village electrification is at 93.05%. That means they're pushing reliable power deep into underdeveloped, frontier, and outermost regions, covering nearly 78,000 villages. Ensuring a remote village has the same access to light as a major city, that's a monumental triumph.
Okay, Chapter 3, Meeting the 2 Main Kitchens.
Back in 2022, PLN went through a massive restructuring to streamline operations, essentially splitting their power generation into 2 giant subholdings. You can kind of think of this setup as a friendly, super productive sibling rivalry. On one side, we've got PLN Indonesia Power, or PIP, headquartered in Jakarta, managing about 21 gigawatts of capacity. On the flip side, there's PLN Nusantara Power, or PNP, down in Surabaya, managing roughly 18.2 gigawatts. By splitting this duty, they've created highly focused, specialized units dedicated entirely to keeping those lights on efficiently.
Next up, Chapter 4, Ambitious Green Transition Plan.
Now, the world is obviously changing fast. And as a legacy, fossil fuel-heavy utility, PLN is facing a massive urgent need for our green transformation. And their latest electricity supply business plan, or RUPTL, for 2025 to 2034, dictates a huge pivot. Check out this breakdown. 76% of all new power plant capacity additions will come from new and renewable energy sources. Only 24% will come from gas and coal. This is a complete game changer and a monumental strategic shift toward a sustainable future.
So, what does that 76% actually look like on the ground? Over the next decade, we're talking about injecting massive amounts of clean infrastructure: 17.1 gigawatts of solar, 11.7 gigawatts of hydro, and 7.2 gigawatts of wind, right alongside geothermal and bioenergy. This is painting a very real, very beautiful picture of a clean energy future for Indonesia.
And the best part? They aren't just making lofty promises for the future, they're executing right now. PLN has been actively slashing greenhouse gas emissions by millions of tons recently. Because of this, they've been awarded the highly prestigious Green Proper and Gold Proper ratings from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. They're basically proving that environmental consciousness and corporate growth can go totally hand in hand.
Finally, let's wrap up with Chapter 5, the future of electrical energy.
You see, PLN is expanding aggressively beyond just selling raw electricity, and they want others to join the mission. To manage this future, they've grouped their portfolio into 5 distinct clusters. You have primary energy supply, power generation, and business areas. But the real standout is cluster number 4, beyond kilowatt hour. PLN is creating an entirely new ecosystem. They're developing EV infrastructure, internet connectivity, smart home integration, and even carbon trading services. They're completely shifting from a traditional utility into a fully comprehensive digital energy solutions provider.
But here is the real kicker. They aren't tackling this massive 2025 to 2034 expansion alone. There's a huge open door here for the private sector. A whopping 73% of the additional power plant capacity is earmarked for independent power producers, or IPPs. That means out of the 69.5 gigawatts of new capacity being built, the private sector has the opportunity to jump in, build, and invest in the vast majority of it. It's an incredibly collaborative approach to nation building.
So we've seen the mind-boggling scale, the deep history, the clever restructuring, and that incredibly aggressive green roadmap, which leaves us with one final, provocative question. With this massive infrastructure, 92 million customers, and a definitive pivot towards 76% renewable energy, can PLN actually pull this off and successfully lead Indonesia to its ultimate goal of net zero emissions by 2060? The blueprint is absolutely there, and how they execute this plan is going to shape the region's climate future for generations. Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.